The text came from her son. "We're cutting ties. Don't come to family dinner anymore." The family group chat watched in silence. On a quiet Tuesday morning, Joanna Ellis sat in her Upper East Side apartment, sipping green juice and wearing the same pearl necklace her grandmother had given her decades ago, the one she'd worn at her son's graduation, at his wedding, at every milestone that mattered. Today, that necklace felt heavier. She wasn't being argued with or confronted, she was being erased, digitally, emotionally, surgically. Joanna wasn't just a mother, she was the founder of Ellis Company, a $300 million empire grown from a one-room fabric shop in Queens, 40 years of grit, deals, and 4 a.m. flights. 5 years ago, she'd handed the CEO title to her son, Brandon. His wife, Melissa, had since become the self-appointed empress of family gatherings, and now, it seemed, the one holding the scissors. The message wasn't from a stranger, it was from the boy she once balanced on her hip while signing supplier contracts. No one in the chat defended her. Melissa replied with a laughing emoji. Her nephew left it on read. Her sister-in-law said nothing. 30 years of family dinners deleted with a thumb tap. Joanna didn't cry. She took a screenshot. She'd been preparing for this moment for 3 years. The drawer. She walked to the kitchen and opened a long-forgotten top drawer. Inside lay a manila folder, thick with paper, 3 years of quiet observation. It began with a vendor invoice that didn't make sense, then a charitable donation that never reached the charity, then luxury expenses labeled strategic development. Small cracks, small, until they weren't. She'd hired a private financial investigator under NDA. Every month, more proof, emails, receipts, wire transfers. She picked up the landline, the one that rang only one person. 2 rings. Elelena Bear, a voice like silk over steel. "It's Joanna," she said. "It's time." A pause, then low laughter. "I was wondering when you'd call." "Wonder no more," Joanna replied, drawing the curtains wide. "How soon can you be here?" "For you, an hour." The war room. Elelena arrived precisely on time, tall, immaculate, heels cracking against marble like distant gunfire. She'd toppled 2 Fortune 500 companies before lunch. In Joanna's living room, the coffee table was no longer furniture, it was a battlefield. Contracts, audit drafts, timelines, asset maps. Joanna poured champagne. "To what are we drinking?" Elelena asked. Joanna's smile didn't falter. "To Brandon's education. He's about to learn what happens when you forget who built the playground you're playing in." The manila folder spilled open. Offshore transfers, fake vendor contracts, a $28,000 watch disguised as a staff morale initiative, photos of Melissa carrying designer bags billed as office supplies. Elelena's brow lifted. This isn't just theft. This is corporate fraud, tax evasion, embezzlement. She stopped, holding up one annotated contract. This could bury him alive. Joanna's eyes were steady. "Love delayed justice, but love doesn't excuse theft, not from my company, not from my employees, not from the foundation meant for cancer patients." Elelena leaned forward. "So, what's the move?" Joanna's pearl necklace caught the light. Her smile was razor-sharp. "I'll sell you my shares," Joanna said evenly, "all 49, 8%. With clauses that give you full audit rights and the authority to remove anyone involved in misconduct." Elelena didn't blink. "And after that?" Joanna's gaze was steady. "We teach them what accountability looks like and remind the entire company that dismissing me was Brandon's most expensive mistake." Elelena's smile was almost predatory. "This is going to be fun." Impact. By sunrise, the first strike landed. Elelena, now majority shareholder by proxy, sent the Ellis Company board a formal request for 5 years of financial records. The audit team was on site before Brandon finished his morning espresso. 10:12 a.m. Brandon called. Joanna ignored it. 10:14, what did you mean by last family dinner? 10:18, Mom, answer your phone, this isn't funny. 10:23, Melissa's having a panic attack. Are you happy? Joanna sipped her coffee and screenshotted every message, dropping them into a new desktop folder. Evidence, emotional reactions. Her intercom buzzed. Miss Ellis, your guest has arrived. Send her up, Joanna said. And Marcus, no interruptions for 2 hours. Escalation. Elelena entered like a general walking into an occupied city. She set her briefcase on the coffee table, opened her laptop, and said, "Your son's in full meltdown. Legal tells me he tried to block the audit with an internal vote. Pity he forgot who actually controls the votes now." Joanna's lips curved. He's never faced real consequences. He thinks my silence is surrender. Elelena's eyes glinted. Melissa's scrambling. She just emailed the charitable foundation claiming she had no idea those purchases were inappropriate. Joanna didn't miss a beat. Let me guess, the $50,000 handbag was an essential administrative expense. Exactly. For donor relations. They laughed. By mid-afternoon, Elelena's team had unearthed 2 forged vendor contracts and over $3.2 million in questionable spending. Joanna stayed silent, letting the paper trail do all the talking. The shift. 6 p.m. 17 calls from Brandon, 30+ texts. Joanna poured a glass of champagne, opened her laptop, and typed into her private journal. He told the world I was irrelevant. Today, he can't function without me. She closed the lid. Tomorrow, the boardroom wouldn't just be a meeting. It would be a battlefield. The fallout was instant. Word of Brandon and Melissa's ousting tore through the company like wildfire. In hushed group chats, some employees celebrated, others cried tears of relief, not grief. For most, it felt like waking from a long, bad dream. 3 days after the boardroom showdown, Joanna Ellis booked a discreet lunch at a quiet midtown bistro. Her guests, 3 former department heads, women forced out under Brandon's reign. "I thought you moved to Florida," said Janet Mitchell, the ex-HR director. "That's what Brandon told everyone," Joanna said evenly. "He also informed people I'd been diagnosed with dementia." The table fell silent. "He told us you weren't fit to make decisions," said Sandra Bell, former finance director. "He used it to push us out," added Leah Coleman, once head of outreach. Joanna set down her tea. "You weren't restructured, you were silenced." She slid a notebook across the table. "I'm rebuilding this company, not just the numbers, the soul, and I want you back. No strings, no politics." Inside the notebook, proposals for ethical leadership, oversight committees, transparent bonuses. Janet tilted her head. "Why now?" Joanna didn't blink. "Because I let love blind me. I chose loyalty to my son over loyalty to what I built. That will never happen again." Sandra reached over, squeezed her hand. "You didn't fail us. You were deceived." Leah's eyes glistened. "Now you're leading." Joanna breathed in deeply, her first unburdened breath in years. That afternoon, she sent Elelena a single text: "The team is coming home." By week's end, Ellis Company wasn't just recovering, it was changing. Unethical policies vanished. Silenced voices returned. Joanna was reclaiming her business, her values, her name, and it was only the beginning. Melissa's family lawyer tried one last strike, a quiet lawsuit accusing Joanna of elder abuse and coercion. The claim: she'd been too emotionally fragile to make decisions when she sold her shares. Joanna laughed when she read it. "So I was too weak to sign papers," she told Elelena over breakfast. "But strong enough to pull off a hostile takeover?" "Contradictions sell," Elelena said, sipping her coffee. "The media will love it." 2 days later, Joanna stepped to a podium in a navy pantsuit, the skyline blazing behind her. Reporters filled the press room, cameras rolled. "I've been accused of being mentally unfit," she began, holding up a thick folder. "These are the records I collected over 3 years, proof of embezzlement, fraud, and betrayal." The room stilled. "I may be 67, I may love crossword puzzles and morning walks, but I am not confused, I am not weak, and I do not disappear quietly." Laughter broke the tension. A reporter called out, "What's the takeaway here, Mrs. Ellis?" Joanna looked straight into the lens. Family doesn't give you a free pass to steal. Love should never demand silence. And underestimating someone because of age or gender, that's a mistake you only make once. By nightfall, Ellis Company trended nationwide not for its scandal, but for the woman who refused to be erased. Melissa's team withdrew the suit the next day. 2 weeks later, federal prosecutors charged both Brandon and Melissa. Joanna returned to the office taller, steadier, untouchable. 6 months on, Ellis Company's value soared past $400 million. Employee satisfaction hit a 5-year high. Former clients returned. Joanna chaired every board meeting wearing her grandmother's pearl necklace, not as armor, but as a symbol of everything she'd fought for. Across the table sat Leah, Sandra, and Janet, no longer exiles, but leaders. Together they launched a scholarship for young women in business, funded entirely by assets seized from Brandon and Melissa. The handbags Melissa once bought with stolen funds were auctioned off. The proceeds paid for 50 full scholarships. Poetic justice in designer leather. When Forbes profiled Joanna for a feature titled The Woman Who Rebuilt Her Legacy, they asked if she had any regrets. Just one, she said, that I didn't act sooner. Every day I waited, someone else paid the price. At home, her quiet joy was weekend coffee with her grandson, Logan, the one person who had never doubted her. "Grandma," he said one morning, "Professor Hines wants to use your case in our corporate ethics seminar." Joanna smiled. "Tell him yes. The next generation should learn that silence isn't strength, and kindness isn't weakness." That afternoon, Elelena called with unexpected news. "Brandon wants a meeting," she said. "To apologize. To make amends, he says." Joanna thought for a long moment. Tell him he can apply for a job at the foundation like anyone else. If he's changed, we'll see it. If not, he'll stay exactly what he chose to become. And what's that? An irrelevant chapter in a far better story. That evening, she sipped wine and read thank you letters from scholarship recipients. Peace settled over her, not just from justice served, but from knowing she had built something better from the ashes. That was the real revenge. Saturday mornings became her favorite ritual. At 10 sharp, Logan would arrive with coffee, croissants, and a backpack full of ideas. He always claimed the same spot on the leather sofa, legs tucked under, eyes bright with purpose. "Grandma," he said, pulling out a folder, 3 more family-run businesses reached out to the foundation this week. They want help setting up governance protocols and transparency systems. Joanna raised an eyebrow. "Corporate ethics is trending?" Logan grinned. "No, you're trending. You've become the blueprint for turning betrayal into a business model." She laughed, setting aside the scholarship applications. The Wilson Foundation, named for her grandmother, the woman who taught her grit, had become a hub for entrepreneurs building with integrity, sustainable startups, ethical tech, fair pay fashion, a future she once only dreamed of seeing. Later that day, Elelena texted, "They've greenlit the documentary." The title made Joanna pause, then smile. Joanna Ellis, the woman who wouldn't disappear. Brandon had tried to erase her. Instead, he'd made her unforgettable. Looking out over the city, she thought of the truth she had finally accepted. Some relationships don't deserve reconciliation. Some endings are the only way to make room for new beginnings. The woman she had become, the leader, mentor, force of nature, was possible only because she had chosen herself. As the sun slipped below the skyline, Joanna opened her laptop, updated the folder marked Legacy, and closed it, not out of fear, but because the story was complete. And to anyone watching, listening, or surviving something similar, she would say this: you are not weak for being betrayed, you are not cruel for setting boundaries, and you are not alone for choosing peace over proximity. Sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming impossible to ignore.